Hey everybody, good morning. Happy Wednesday to everybody. So guys, today, if you haven't checked out the video from yesterday, it was like 10 seconds. I did do announcements for how we were going to read the rest of our Genesis Bible study this month, and also some other brief announcements. And then there was a video a little bit before that. We did some updates and announcements for the new subscribers. And then it was another video before that. I think it was like 16 seconds or less. Um, like what you guys can look forward to this year with the channel. Some things that you can look forward to this year with the channel. So today's word is name. Today's letter is N. And we're going to be coming from Isaiah 43 verse 1. And then we're also going to be reading, we're going to be finishing up the rest of Genesis 25. We stopped on 11 yesterday. So we'll be finishing up Genesis 25 on down. Then we'll read Genesis 26 and 27. And then we're going to close. But just thank God for blessing this video and this Bible study and touching you personally where you are, touching us corporately and touching you personally in Jesus' name. Amen. So hold on. Let me make sure that this is all the way up. Sometimes it's kind of low. Okay. So Isaiah 43 verse 1 is the scripture for today's word of the day. And guys, don't mind my voice. I've been up since 6, my prayer time and stuff. So when I'm like kind of still not really up yet, I still sound like that. But y'all should know my voice by now. So it's okay. So 43:1 says, "But now this is what the Lord says, He who created you, O Jacob, He who formed you, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine." I'm just going to leave it right there for a few seconds. Today's word is name. No matter your situation or where you are in the world, what you may be facing, you got to know that God knows you by name. And He doesn't want you to fear because He created you, He formed you, He's redeemed you, He summoned you by name. You are His, you belong to Him. So that's very personal. So God is just letting you know that He's with you. So hold on to that Isaiah 43:1 today, throughout this week in whatever season you are in your life. Just know it's going to get better. That's a promise to you. So I'm going to go now. Let me move this pen. Okay, I'm going to go to Genesis 25:12. And guys, we'll be done with Genesis this month. We'll start Revelations. It's looking like February 1st. God's will. So Genesis 25:12. Reading down. So now we're going to talk about Ishmael's sons. And again, guys, if you guys have missed any of these are on playlists. So just go to the playlist and it's already organized for you guys. You just got to click on it and, it'll be there. So this is the account of Abraham's son Ishmael, whom Sarah's maidservant Hagar, the Egyptian, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael. So Ishmael had sons too, listed in the order of their birth. And if I say I'm wrong, I'm sorry, guys. Nebiel, the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are the names of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and counts. So I never knew this, but you know how Jacob had so Isaac had Jacob, and Jacob had the 12 tribes. So I never knew that Ishmael had his 12 tribes either. See, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These are 12 sons. So they were 12 tribal rulers too. So they probably weren't like the promised land tribes, like how the sons of Jacob were, like Joseph and Reuben and all those people in Judah. We did a series on that, the Joseph says, but we're going to read about Joseph too. But I never knew that. Did y'all know that Ishmael had all these sons and the tribes? So rulers according to their settlements and counts, around 17, reading down. Altogether, Ishmael lived 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur near the border of Egypt as you go toward Asher. Okay, and I was looking to see so I've read Asher before. Okay, that wasn't one of his sons. And they lived, let me move this book because I kind of know where we're reading from today. I just was doing that for notes purposes. In hostility toward all their brothers, right? Or they lived to the east of, and remember that was prophesied to Hagar. I think when she was pregnant with him, we read about that. So now we're going to talk about Jacob and Esau, and then we'll get beginning to 26, which is going to be talking about Isaac and Abimelech and some other things. Now remember Abimelech, because we talked about Abraham and Abimelech too. So this is the account of Abraham's son Isaac. And guys, I just want to do another reminder. The new Bible study packets are available. The first one we did last year, I think November. Don't quote me, but I think it was November. But that one we did. This second one is going to consist of a little bit of Acts. I think some of Luke in like the first part of Genesis, like Genesis first 20 chapters. So if you guys want those, just email me and I'll email them back to you. So this is the account of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah. Remember, we read about her yesterday, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Padan Aram. Excuse me, y'all don't mind me clearing my throat. I need to just drink some tea today. So that's northwest Mesopotamia, and sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. See, we've been talking about never underestimate where you are in God, the power of prayer, intercession, things like that. So the babies jostled to each other. So she has twins within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. See, no matter what you're going through, this is very important to do. You have to do this. It's going to save you a lot of trouble. And it's going to make things a little bit easier for you versus if you don't do this. I've learned this for the times that I didn't. And it helps. And it's better when I do this. I'm sure you guys can relate. So the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. And Esau in the bottom means hairy. He was called Edom, which means red. Okay, so after this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. And that just means he grasps the heel, or he's a deceiver, that he deceives. So all this stuff is happening from the womb. The prophecies that God answered her was from the womb. So Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. So he was 40 when he married her, right? And then he prayed because she was barren. And then at 60, so like 20 years have passed some type of way. And then she gave birth to them. So the boys grew up. And then what does this remind you of? Briefly, remember with Sarah when she wasn't producing in that time, and then they gave Hagar to Abraham, and then after a time she produced Isaac. And then remember how Isaac and Ishmael are so different, and then Jacob and Esau are so different. So the bloodline and covenants and different things, all that stuff does play a part. So the boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man staying among the tents. So basically they were like different as night and day. So Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And this also goes to show favoritism. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was also called Edom, which means red. And I don't know if this is from the Edomites. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that either, but that Edom is kind of sticking out to me. So Jacob replied, first sell me your birthright. Look at this. How your brother is tired from being in the open country. He's famished. He beyond starving. He just wants some food. And you saying, sell me your birthright. What does this say about I'm not laughing like that, y'all, but what does this say about Jacob? From you was grabbing his heel from in the womb. You was being deceptive from in the womb. I would never say that to that's just he's like, sell me your birthright. See, this is why it's so important when you're desperate or you're vulnerable to watch what you exchange with your time and your energy, your words, your relationships, just what you think about, what you observe. Because I told you guys in the last video in the comment section, whatever you observe, you're going to absorb. So this is just kind of remind me of that. So he's like, look, I'm about to die. Esau said, what good is the birthright to me? See, he allowed his current situation to feel like it was his final destination, but it wasn't, because really he was supposed to be But if you go back to the prophecy, it did say that the older will serve the younger. So God knew that this was going to happen. Two nations, two peoples, they're going to be separated. And, Esau was older than Jacob, but he says one people will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger. So it was already in the plan if you kind of go back to what we just read with the prophecy. Good morning, Miss Cheryl. So 3 says, but Jacob said, swear to me first. Because remember, we were talking about back then, like when you swore, the covenants and different things and vows, they took that very, very seriously. So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. And back then, the older person, especially if they were a son, the birthright represented so many different things. I want you guys to look into that in your Bibles or even Google it. The birthright represented inheritance. It represented promise. It represented authority, leadership. You got so much more benefits. Like if anything happened to your parents or something, it will go to you. So kind of look at it in this modern day time, like if something happens to your parents or something and you're in the will, it will, like, a lot of the land or the estate or different things will go to you. A lot of the assets and different things, like, you'll have more privilege over some of the other people. I'm just trying to make it like a modern day practical example. But they got a lot of benefits as the firstborn. It's like you were an heir. So the birthright was very, very important. So he sold his birthright to Jacob. So then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. So now we're going to talk about Isaac and Abimelech. Now there was a famine in the land besides the earlier famine of Abraham's time. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. Remember, we've been reading about them and talking about them. So the Lord appeared to Isaac and said, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you. See, just like he was with his dad, he was with him. And he's going in a different land, but God is the same God that's guiding him. Right? Because now this is a new generation. But he's the same God of the covenant. So for to you and your descendants I will give all these lands and will confirm the oath I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, will give them all these lands, and through your offspring or seed, all nations on earth will be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and kept my requirements, my commands, my decrees, and my laws. So Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, she is my sister. Remember, Abraham did it with Sarah. So because he was afraid to say she is my wife, he thought the men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is beautiful. When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, she is really your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? Isaac answered him, because I thought I might lose my life on account of her. Do you guys see how generations and all that just plays a major part? Hold on, guys. Just gonna go black. Let me get some water. This is why I'm always, well, we talked a lot in the prior videos about generational blessings and curses. So then Abimelech said, yep, Miss Cheryl said, what is this you have done to us? Remember, his dad did it too. We read about it with some of the other kings and the other people. One of the men might have slept with your wife and you would have brought guilt upon us. Remember, his dad, God closed up the woman's womb. The man was going through some stuff. He was like, why did you lie to us? And God had to warn that man before he could, touch Sarah or be with her. So now it's happening with Isaac and his wife. So Abimelech gave orders to all the people. Anyone who molests this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Molest this man. So now that's kind of reminding me back to when we talked about Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's like that seed still. So Isaac planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped 100-fold because the Lord blessed him. And you want to know another reason why I feel like God blessed him 100-fold and why he reaped in that land? Because he was obedient to stay in the land that God told him to stay in. He obeyed, just like his dad obeyed. See, a lot of times blessings come with us being obedient. Because like I told you guys, Isaiah 1:19 says, if you are willing and obedient, you will eat the good of the land. A lot of people want to eat the good of the land, but they're not willing or obedient. You got to be both. As we have contingencies as people, God's going to have some contingencies too. So just like his dad, God blessed him. So the man became rich and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. So not only was he rich, but he was very wealthy. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. See? So all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the time of his father Abraham, which was rightfully his wells, the Philistines stopped up filling them with earth. So they was filling them up with dust and sand and dirt and stuff, trying to block it. And that's the thing. When God favors you and his hand is on you, it cannot be blocked. They could try it, but it's not gonna be blocked. That's that Isaiah 54:17. To me personally, Miss Cheryl, my personal convictions, I would say no. But to line it up with scripturally, I'm gonna say yes, because back then it wasn't a law. So the law wasn't in place yet. Like with Moses, it wasn't in place yet with Abraham and them. So, and because we read about Abraham doing it with Sarah, like personally, I feel like it's wrong. But because God brought the curse on the people, even though Abraham them lied, it's like he was honoring covenant over their personal lies or their personal convictions. He was honoring his covenant with them. So personally, I think it's wrong that he did that because it's very deceptive. His dad did it too. But the fact that God let this man see this, he gave them warning so that they didn't do it. So I don't know why God allowed that with them. I personally don't agree, but because of just us reading the Bible, I think God honored them and gave them grace and mercy on that, with them saying and doing that because of the covenant that he had with them and his relationship with them. I think he honored the covenant and his relationship with them above their own emotions and their flesh because they obey him. And then like back then in those times, we read about a lot of people wasn't obeying God like that. So I feel like God was, honoring more of his relationship with them than them. I hope I explained that right. If that kind of makes sense. So 16 says, then Abimelech said to Isaac, move away from us. You have become too powerful for us. Now remember, going back, Abraham, I think we read about this Friday or something. Abraham had to deal with Abimelech. Okay, Miss Cheryl. Abraham had to deal with Abimelech too. So Isaac moved away from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar. See, he stayed in Gerar, but now they wanted him to move. So I'm still gonna stay in Gerar, but he just moved from Gerar to the valley of Gerar. So sometimes along the way, you know, in our different journeys of life, we got to make adjustments. We may have to move, but as long as you stay in position and you trust God, God is going to lead you and guide you and provide for you and get you through. He's going to let you see and hear and give you the game on what you need to know, you know. So long as you stay in position with God, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Don't matter who don't like it, but it's God like. One day God had told me, um, he had just said this to me. He was like, instead of people running to see how many likes they got on Instagram, they should be coming to see how many likes they got from me. Like, instead of people running to see how many likes they got from social media, how many likes did you get from God? And I started laughing and I thought about it and I was like, God, that is very true. So at the end of the day, yeah, he told me that last year. Miss Sure, I forgot to tell y'all. I don't think I told y'all that. Yeah, he was like, people will be running because this modern day time, everybody's not like that, but a lot of people are. They run. The first thing they do when they wake up in the morning is go to Instagram, go to Facebook. I'm not saying nothing is wrong with those things because I like going on Instagram too, but I don't let it consume me and it's not my life. I don't have Facebook anymore. I'm not into that. But when I do go on Instagram, it's to post, like I post pictures stuff for my son, but it's mostly about my business or I'm sharing a positive quote or a scripture or something like that. So God was like, basically, don't let nothing consume you more than him, you know. So he encamped there in that valley and settled there. So Isaac reopened the wells that had been dug in the time of his father Abraham, because really this had rightfully belonged to him, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died. See, because let me just put a pin in this real quick. When Abraham, and I'm not going to read it, I'm just going to go back because Abraham was dealing with Abimelech. I don't know if you guys remember, but we had read about this in 20. And Abimelech was he was liking Sarah. He was liking Sarah looking down. So this go to show me he probably has some lust in him too, because he did it with Isaac daddy. And God had shown him the vision. And he told them, you know, not to touch him and stuff. Right. And then he had blessed Abraham with so much stuff. And then God had healed Abimelech because he had closed Abimelech household up. They couldn't have kids and stuff. So now this is his son. And he's looking down at let me go back where I was. He looking down at type of spirit in Abimelech though, for real. He looking down at Rebecca. Just make you think. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Miss Cheryl. Because if you did it in the day when my daddy was alive, because Isaac wasn't even, I don't even think Isaac was born at this time. If he was, he had to be very young or he wasn't born at all. He was, you know, looking at Sarah some type of way. You did it in my daddy day. Now you're doing it with me and my wife. What? What's on you though? And why you don't have your own wife you looking at? Are you just lustful? It's just a thought. Mm-mm. So, okay, so 19. So Isaac's servants dug in the valley and discovered a well of fresh water there. But the herdsmen of Gerar, and see, Abraham already had these things in place. Yeah, you know, I think so too, Miss Sherm. He already had these things in place. So by right, these were for Isaac, for his seed. Because remember, we've been reading throughout this whole from Genesis 12 on up for where we are now. He's been telling him, I'm gonna bless your seed for your seed, this, that, and then he's telling Isaac this too. So it's fresh water. So, but the herdsman of Gerar quarreled with Isaac herdsman and said, the water is ours. How is it y'all's? Y'all know it's mine. See that spirit? So he named the well Esek, and that means dispute, because they disputed with him. Then they dug another well, but they quarreled over that one also. So he named it Sitna, and that means opposition. I remember one year, I think it was like, what year was this? It was some years ago in my faith walk. I was going through this like what Isaac was going through with the wells, but it wasn't literal wells. It was like spiritual ground, and it was also like opportunities, and it just kept being blocked. And God kept saying, "Go to the next one." because I'm gonna give you back all these wells. And like, I think for like a lot of that whole year or half of that year, this was some years ago. I think like over 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, it was like over 4 or 5 years ago. And I would just be coming to this part with Isaac, but God bless him. And then I end up breaking through. How I handled that, Miss Cheryl, prayer, I didn't give up when I wanted to. And it kind of like forced me to take my prayer life to another level. And eventually I saw breakthrough. He gave me Isaac, and then he had gave me Nehemiah. Yeah, he was giving me Isaac with the wells. So the fact that we're reading this, he just reminded me of some years ago. Yeah, like I think for like that whole year or 6 months, I was seeing breakthrough, but it was some things that the enemy really was trying to clog up certain wells. And God was giving me this. And then he also was giving me Nehemiah. And I would read Nehemiah throughout certain points in my journey, because he still had to work and build that wall in the midst of the opposition. So yeah, I was just reminded of that. So he moved on from there and dug another one. And I saw lots of victory over the years. Not saying I haven't gone through anything or haven't, been attacked or faced opposition, but I'm victorious and I'm in a much better place. And a lot of things God showed me I was gonna get, I got. So yep. So he moved on from there and dug another well, and no one quarreled over it. Excuse me. Do I think he was teaching me at this point in my life? At this now point, Miss Cheryl, or from 4 or 5 years ago when he gave me this with the well? From from the 4 or 5 years ago when he gave me this, it was for me to go higher and deeper in the spirit life too. Because so it's like it's over 8 years now, or really it's over 9 years now, but I count 8 years. October makes 9 years, but 8 years really. So during this time, I was like, because I was praying for my family stuff, but I was like, he was showing me like generational curses and blessings, how to go in and possess and take land spiritually, how to tap in and just do different things and going deeper with him. It's like he was kind of breaking the mold and like that remnant. So he was just showing me things that I was open for him to show me, and just taking me deeper and like having me pray for my family and people I was connected to at that time, and even my own personal life and destiny. So he was just showing me different things, and also it was to equip me for different levels spiritually, you know. So I think that's what it was. That's what he was teaching me. He was also teaching me to prevail in the midst of opposition and not give up. So they didn't. So on this last well that he dug, no one quarreled over it. So he named it Rehoboth. And what does this mean? This means that means, hold on, I'm sorry, room, means room. Saying, now the Lord has given us room and we will flourish in the land. So from there he went up to Beersheba. That night the Lord appeared to him and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. See, that's that covenant keeping God. Yes, Miss Cheryl, and no. Yes, for the first part, no. The one that passed was, the other one had a form of it, but she's began tapping into different stuff a long time ago. So the one that passed was, and the crazy thing that he showed me was, I won't get into that, but the one that passed was. So yeah, he was teaching me a lot with that too. And I remember back in like 2014, before I had Justice, this was months before it. I think this was like in the middle before I moved. He was taking me to Joshua with Moses, and Joshua with the I don't want to say the passing of mantles, but it was the passing of the baton, and he was showing me her, and also Elijah, because she was so sweet. Like, she always, she was just so sweet. She's one of the reasons why, you know. So So going back to 23, so he's like, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and will increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. There he pitched his tent, and there his servants dug a well. Meanwhile, Abimelech had come to him from Gerar. See, Abimelech, you just keep on popping up with Ahuzzath. Who is this? His personal advisor in Pichol. Now, remember, we did read about Pichol before, the commander of his forces. Isaac asked them, why have you come to me since you were hostile to me and sent me away? I like Isaac. I guess Isaac is like, don't come at me with this foolishness. What's the deal? Why you came back? They answered, we saw clearly that the Lord was with you, so we said there ought to be a sworn agreement between us. See, I don't know if y'all remember, but I had told y'all about this in one of the videos, or I think I mentioned it briefly, and we're going to be closing soon. I'm going to try to close in like 10 minutes or less. With Joshua, when I told you guys to read Joshua, and we read some of Joshua in some of the other videos. But anyway, it was these people that, because I just finished reading Joshua at the end of December. It was these people that came to Joshua that was close by Joshua's land. And the Holy Spirit reminded me of this. And so Joshua them was having victory over a lot of the people in that land, and they were possessing land. And there were these people that were powerful too, but they were close, but they knew they couldn't stand against Joshua them. So they lied and they disguised themselves and they went to them and they wanted an agreement, but really they were close by because they didn't inquire of the Lord. Like first the people was like, no, but what if you live close by? And then they took it to Joshua, but Joshua, normally he would inquire of the Lord, and he didn't inquire of the Lord. He just went by what it looked like. Like they looked at poor and needy, but really they were scheming them because they didn't want them to take them out in the war. So basically the Lord's curse was on them. They couldn't kill them because they had sworn oath. And you couldn't lie on oath. If you broke the law, the covenant, you were stoned to death or you died. So they couldn't break it because the people was mad. The people was ready to just go him. And Joshua was like, we can't do it because we already gave them the oath. So then the Lord's curse was on them, and they were woodcutters. I think they're still woodcutters to this very day. Like they would get the wood, and I think water, basically like slave manual work. So yeah, I'm gonna see. Hold on, let me put a pin in this so I can tell y'all where that's at. So if you want to read it, you can read it. But this is just why they be being so quick to talk about the those vows. Give me 1 second. This is why they be so quick to be wanting to do a vow. I just want to give y'all this one real quick. I'm not reading this. I just want to tell y'all where it's at. If I can remember. It's in Joshua 9, the Gibeonite deceit. Okay, so let me go back to Genesis. So they want to swear an agreement between us and you. So let us make a treaty with you that you will do us no harm, just as we did not molest you. Again, what kind of spirit is this? But always treated you well and sent you away in peace, and now you are blessed by the Lord. So Isaac then made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. This is kind of also reminding me, guys, of Psalms 23. When the Lord prepared a table for you in the presence of your enemies, they knew he was blessed. And this is also reminding me of what we like in Matthew. You know, bless your enemies. Pray for those that despitefully use you. I think it's Matthew. It's one of those in the New Testament, the Gospels, the four Gospels. I think it's in Matthew. So early the next morning, the men swore an oath. That's what I'm talking about, Miss Cheryl. I'm like, I know God had destroyed that, but the seed still was somewhere, because where, you know what I'm saying? And you've been here, Abimelech, since my daddy days. So early the next morning, the men swore an oath to each other. Then Isaac sent them on their way, and they left in peace. That day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. They said, we found water. He called it Sheba. And Sheba means oath or seven. And you know that seven represents completion. So, and to this day, the name of the town has been Beersheba. And Beersheba means well of the oath or well of seven. And you if you read this Bible, You will hear Bathsheba mentioned a lot of different times. So I believe this is where it originated from. So when Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith. Now that's the most modern name I have heard while we've been reading these names, and I'm not being disrespectful. This is the most modern name I've heard out of these other unique names we've been reading about. Judith. Wow. Daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and also Basemath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. So these are people from a different tribe. That's like we've been talking about. Sometimes when God is saying he don't want you to intermarry with this religion or these people because they don't serve your God. So basically these two, so he married two different ladies, two girls, but his parents didn't like them. There was a source of grief. So Isaac and Rebekah didn't like their daughters-in-law. So now we're going to get Jacob gets Isaac's blessing. And then it's going to be the last one for today, because I really want to try to keep the morning Bible study ones like down to 30 minutes. And especially depending on how many chapters we got to read for that day, because different days going to be different chapters. But on Mondays, it may be a little bit longer because that's when we're doing our 52-week series. And next week, Monday, is going to be 2 weeks. But I'm going to still try to keep it down to a good amount of time. So when Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called for Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." "Here I am," he answered. Now remember, this was his favorite son to begin with. So Isaac said, "I am now an old man and don't know the day of my death. Now then, get your weapons, your quiver and bow, and go out to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die." This is just another quick point. It's very important sometimes when you're going through a spiritual or natural season. If you can't, so let's look at this more so spiritually, because I'm speaking good health over all of us in Jesus' name until God call us into eternity. This is why even spiritually, when you feel like maybe you can't see God, you need to be able to hear him. When I say see God, I don't mean literal see him. I mean like see his direction. You feel like you're not able to do that, which I'm praying you all are. But sometimes we go through certain seasons where God want to build up our trust and confidence in him in another way. We've been talking about that too. I mentioned that yesterday in so many words. So like let's say that he may be telling you to trust his voice, trust his leading. So let's say before you could feel or you can sense or you can see God's hand leading you, but now you may be in a place where you just got to hear him and obey his voice and trust where he's leading and guiding you. Or maybe you feel like you can't hear him, but you can sense that he's with you, or he's showing you things to tell you how to hold on. Does that make sense to somebody? So even though Isaac couldn't see, he still could speak. He still could hear. He still had feelings. He still knew Esau. He still knew what he liked. So he didn't allow that weakness of or that deficiency or that inferiority to stop the other senses that God had gave him. And I want to give that to somebody. Thank you, Lord, more so spiritually, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's close this out. So now Rebekah was listening. Now remember, Rebekah loved Isaac more, or she favored him more, as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. And I think that's very dangerous when you have kids to do. I don't think that's right to do that, because it creates something inside of the child. And, children grow up with that. And that could be on them in their heart for a long time. And then it could affect how they parent. This is why it is so. And then sometimes it just make that person don't want to have kids because of what they had to go through in their child. This is why healing is so important. In that scripture that says in Psalms, like David said, "Though my father and mother forsake me, God will receive me up." But I don't think it's good to have favor your to do that. Like y'all know by now, I would have had maybe 4 or 5 kids or more than that by now, but I just have my son. And when I do have future kids, I'm not gonna play favorites with them. Like, why would you do that? That really do something psychologically to a child. So I don't think that's right. But so I want to keep reading. So Michelle said, "Did Isaac know Esau's birthright was protectively stolen from his brother?" I don't think at the time he was open to it, Miss Cheryl. because let me put a pin in this really quick. I don't think at the time, Miss Cheryl, he was really open to it, because it says so Esau despised his birthright. Because he said, look, I'm about to die. What good is the birthright to me? He didn't care. He just wanted a quick meal, a quick fix. So he really didn't care about it because he despised it. So 5 says, so now Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau left for the open country to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die. And also, this is going to show that she kind of deceitful too. We know that God told her the promise in the womb with the prophecy with the brothers. We already read that. But Jacob was deceitful. She kind of deceitful too, because your husband asked specifically for Esau to do that. It just kind of does make you think, but at the same time, it's like God's word is going to come either way. So it says, now my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats. See, she his wife. She know it. She know how to do it. So I can prepare some tasty food for your father just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat so that he may give you his blessing before he dies. What do you guys think about this? So Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, but my brother Esau's a hairy man and I'm a man with smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing. So at least he had sense to think this. But look what the mama kept pushing him. So his mother said to him, my son, let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say. Go and get them from me. So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and she prepared some tasty food just the way his father liked it. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau. That's a word for somebody. Just the way that, see, they gonna know the way that you like it, but you gotta look and see what's behind that. That's what I'm thinking too, Miss Cheryl. Cause this man told him to do it, Esau, but you're like, no, we're gonna interject. So then Rebekah, and look at this, and then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her older son, which she had in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. She also covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goat skins. So his dad, if he do feel him, he gonna think it's Esau. Excuse me. Then she handed to her son Jacob the tasty food and the bread she had made. He went to his father and said, my father. Yes, my son, he answered. Who is it? See? Remember we were talking about those other, even though you may not have one in this season or feel like one is going down, your other ones will pick up or kick in higher. Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing. It sound good, don't it? Sound like that could be Esau. Listen to this. So Isaac asked his son, how did you find it so quickly, my son? So the Lord your God gave me success, he replied. See, he's speaking this language. Then Isaac said to Jacob, come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not. See, even though his eyes failing him, his spiritual eyes are not failing him. Because he's counteracting everything that Jacob is saying to him. So Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, so he blessed him. Are you really my son Esau? He asked. So it's not like he just did it. He was probing. He's asking him questions. I am, he replied. Then he said, my son, bring me some of your game to eat so that I may give you my blessing. This is the birthright. This is the inheritance. And I want you guys to look into that so you can see what a big deal that was. So Jacob brought it to him and he ate, and he brought some wine and he drank. And we're going to read about this when Jacob does it over his own kids too. So then his father, because he's going to get older too, just like Isaac did, he's going to have to release the blessing over his children. Then his father Isaac said to him, come here, my son, and kiss me. So he went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field." See this deception? And that's what his name means, deceive. That the Lord has blessed. May God give you of heaven's dew and of earth's richness in abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and people bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. Remember, God gave that to Abraham in Genesis 12:1-3. So after Isaac, the curse and the blessed part. So after Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence. That means he barely just left from out the room. His brother Esau came in from hunting. He too, but remember what he did in his desperate season, in his vulnerable season. I have done some things in the desperate and vulnerable season and it cost me, but I always encourage people out of those experiences from long ago. Be careful who you connect with and what you connect with and what you are absorbing and thinking on and observing when you're in a desperate or trying time. You're vulnerable. Make sure that even in that state, you're giving it to God, because his whole life, the whole trajectory of his life and his destiny changed because he was desperate for a bowl of soup and some bread. So he too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. That means his mama, because I'm sure you in the house or you in the tent. So you had to see Esau coming, or he coming back. He normally go out, and he normally come back at a certain time. So that means that they probably watched him do this, knowing that Jacob already went in and sealed the deal. That's very deceitful, but it was already prophesied in her womb. So he too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, and then I'm thinking too, maybe his mom taught him how to cook, because she knew exactly how he liked it. So I'm maybe she taught Esau how to cook, or he learned a few things from her, because he knew what his dad liked too. So I'm sure he just didn't learn how to just do that on his own. Maybe she had to teach him. Maybe he did, but maybe she taught him a few things with that. So then he said to him, "My father, sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing." Listen to this. His father Isaac asked him, "Who are you?" "I am your son," he answered, "your firstborn Esau." Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who is it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." Because remember, I told y'all back then, once it was released, that's it. It's just like the king's signet ring. That was it. It was very rare that that law got changed. It was already released. So when Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob, which means deceiver, or he grasps the heel, or he deceives?" But Esau, you're not taking into account about that time you asked your brother for that bowl of soup and that bread. See, you can't just be blaming him for this, because number one, it was already prophesied over your mother womb. And then number two, you said, "What good is the blessing, the birthright for me?" So you have to look at not only what your brother did, but you have to look at your part too. So he said, "He has deceived me these two times. He took my birthright and now he's taking my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" It doesn't work like that. So Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you and have made all his relatives his servants. And I have sustained him with grain and new wine." Because see, back then the younger was supposed to rule the older, but it was reversed, where the older was going to rule the younger. And then even when we read about with Jacob blessing his grandchildren from Joseph, and we did a series on this last year, I think in May, he blessed Ephraim and Manasseh. He crossed his hands. We're going to read about that. And it was another reversal with that too. So he was like 37, and we're closing soon. Okay. So Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son?" He's like, "I don't have nothing left. I gave y'all what I had. So 38, Esau said to his father, do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father. Then Esau wept aloud. See, he knew what that meant. His father Isaac answered him, your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven. See, because when he blessed Jacob, he said, may God give you of heaven's dew and of earth's richness. He can't do both. See, you will live by the sword and you will serve your brother. Right? The sword means war. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck. So now we're going to talk about Jacob flees to Laban. And remember, I told y'all to pay attention to Laban when we were reading about him the other day. So Esau held a grudge against Jacob. He is angry at him, unforgiveness, bitterness. He don't want nothing to do with him. He probably about ready to kill him because of the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. Basically, he like, I ain't going to kill you right now because daddy's still alive. But when daddy die, I'm coming for you. I don't care that you is my brother. You hear what he just said? He said, the days of mourning for my father are near, which means dad is about to die. And when he die, I'm going to kill you. So he's outraged. So when Rebecca was told what her older son Esau had said, she sent for, and you notice she always in the gossip. She always at the place. She always know what's going on. Don't mean she was a gossiper, but she always know what's going on. So she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, your brother, good morning, I'm Love Unity. So says, then I will kill my brother. When Rebecca was told what her older son Esau had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, your brother Esau is consoling himself with the thought of killing you, which means this is premeditated murder, which means I'm gonna kill you anyway, Jacob. That's what he was basically saying to himself. Even though I don't think premeditated murder was deemed back then because it wasn't the law. But that's like Cain and Abel. Cain had premeditated murder because he thought about that before he killed his brother. We already read about that. So it says, now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Remember, I told y'all to keep an eye on Laban. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets what you did to him, I'll send word for you to come back from there. And she's making it seem like it may be something quick. It's going to be some time. Why should I lose both of you in one day? Then Rebecca said to Isaac, I'm disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. Remember, she don't like her daughters-in-law. I don't even know if she deemed them worthy to be called daughters-in-law, but modern day time, that's what they would be. So if Jacob takes a wife from among the women of this land, from Hittite women like these, my life will not be worth living. So I'm going to close with that, guys. I want to thank you guys for joining. Pray that everybody has a great, blessed day. And we'll be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow, our word of the day is going to be opportunity. And we're only going to read 28 tomorrow because it's Thursday with the call. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great day.